This week we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. So it's not uncommon for me to bring my work home with me. I tend to destroy our entire house with my work. So last week I was painting a backdrop for a production of Phantom of the Opera for the opening Hannibal scene where Carlotta quits and Christine has to take over. So we built this giant paint frame. It's sheets of Luan screwed to some 1x4 and then screwed to our rolling saw table so that we could move the elephant around. And then some ram board on the floor and a bunch of gallon buckets of paint. The backdrop is muslin. It's fabric so that it can be rolled and folded, and it will eventually end up on a curtain track in the middle of the stage and come across just for the scene. It's only in one scene, but it's a big scene. So you've got to have an elephant because it's Hannibal.
My friend was over for this part, and surprisingly, they didn't say anything about the elephant in the room.
They walked through the door and you said, "Oh," as in, "Oh, Mom made a mess again." And they didn't say a word about it. Did you ever ask?
No, I don't think I did.
They just sat down at the table that's literally 4 feet away from the elephant in the room, and they hung out with you and they had snacks, and then they went home and they never mentioned that there was a 8-foot tall elephant in the room.
It's really big and there's lots of gold. I like him. I don't know what my favorite part of the elephant is. There's that big bright pink cape thingy.
It's a cape. Superhero elephant.
Cape? What?
It's a blanket. So this is far from the first time that I have had a big project somewhere in our house.
I remember you painting the sets for Children's Hospital, Orange County's fundraisers every year.
Yep, I was always painting those the last several years at our house. This is one of my favorites. And Sam painted the birdhouse and you painted the fairy while I was painting Chalk.
Little baby Samo.
Little baby Samo.
Look at how squishy you were.
So here's the elephant finished. I love how the elephant turned out, and you think, oh, good, it's done. We finally get our living room back. Except no, because there's more to this story. So this is actually just the center section of a 26-foot wide backdrop. So here is me and your granddad rolling up the elephant section and then shifting it to one of the sides.
That's big.
Yeah, it is big. It's quite big.
Oh, that's a lot.
So this is a simplified take on the original backdrop for the Broadway production, but also I added the elephant into the backdrop because the elephant in the original production is this massive rolling wagon. It's a 3-dimensional piece that Hannibal climbs onto. And in this production, that is spatially and financially not feasible. So it's an elephant on a backdrop. I love elephants. So, any opportunity to build or paint an elephant, I'll take it. The two sides are these cow statues. I painted the rough outline so I could see what I was doing. We projected them, but I couldn't see the lines. So I would paint the rough outline, and then I was basing everything with paintbrushes. First, I based everything with its base colors, and then I went through and added all of the shadows and details and highlights. What projects do you guys remember taking over the whole house?
I remember the tree for the sloth from Zootopia.
Yeah, I made a tree for a sloth. We also made miniature stanchions, like mouse-sized stanchions, and different sized for different animals, park benches for the premiere.
Oh, yeah, the church. This one took over for a while.
And the whole house.
Yeah, because we made the treasure chests, we made the surfboards. There's me painting the corals and the seaweeds.
This was for a children's area at a local church, and they hired me to design and paint the murals and also all these little 3-dimensional pieces. They really wanted some 3-dimensional pieces. But that one was awesome because you guys got to come with me when I was painting on site, and you had so much fun just running around that area. They had little tricycles and stuff, and you guys had a good old time.
I remember the giant gummy bears for the giant gingerbread house.
Yeah, we vacuum formed a bunch of giant gummy bears, and they turned out so cute. We sculpted it and then vacuum formed them, and you loved those things.
There was a lot of them.
Yeah, we actually made them again the next year. They wanted more. Hey, there's side number 2 finished.
Whoa.
Side number 3 is basically the same but mirrored. So here's moving it over again. So they're just hung on screws. There's grommets in the top of the drop. And so we hung them on screws at the top of the frame.
That's another big thing.
It is another big thing. I love painting giant paintings. It's my favorite thing to do.
You know what's not my favorite thing to do?
Sweat. Yeah. We only have air conditioning in one room in our house. It's this big one that I'm painting in. But the room that we record our audio in is Ty's room, and it's not air conditioned. And it's 105 degrees today. So, yeah, we've been putting off doing the voiceover for days, but it's not going to get cooler for another week. So we're plugging through it. But we're all sweating. You can, all 3 of us are sitting here sweating. That's why we're so high energy. High energy.
Oh, yeah. I remember the Kakamora from the Moana premiere.
Yeah, you guys actually made some Kakamora on your own. These were the ones that sprouted the story about going to the store and buying all the baby dolls and the lady thinking I was donating them and me being too embarrassed to admit that I was just going to dismember them all.
I remember the giant beads for the giant skull for the Pirates of the Caribbean premiere.
Wasn't one of them made out of an orange juice bottle?
Yeah, there was an orange juice bottle and there was several toilet floats. Some pop beads in his beard, some of your old pop beads from when you were a baby. And I carved the bones that went behind the skull in our backyard also. Yeah, it turned out cool.
The giant keys from the Nutcracker premiere.
We made a bunch of giant keys here, and there were pieces all over the place once again. Oh, and then the year that Disney volunteered to do the Halloween decor for the White House Halloween party, and we made Muppet jack-o'-lanterns. I made those at our house, and I carved probably 100 Nightmare Before Christmas pumpkins. They're all Funkins. They're the fake pumpkins, but boy, oh boy, that took a while.
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Yay, I like that.
I remember when you made those butterflies for the Princess Float at Disney.
Yeah, it was for the Sensational Parade. The way that the hands are on the knees on these statues in the original, the fingers pointed straight down and they're like all the way at the end of the knees. No one sits that way. They're very awkward, these cow-headed man statues.
And then there's Zazu.
There's Zazu. Zazu took over our house and our lives for a very long time. There were so many pieces, and he was so complicated, and he had to move. He's a little robot. He was in a parade also. He was on the front of the Lion King float, and he turned out fantastically well. But boy, oh boy, it was 3D modeling pieces, 3D printing pieces, so many pieces, all the pieces, everywhere, pieces, CNCing pieces. Yeah, so that was when the Chaos Fairy visited me. You guys were at school, so you missed it, but I was getting ready to do the last step on the last panel, the shadow wash, and I had the spray bottle in one hand and the paint in the other, and I started to drop the spray bottle, so I went to catch it with the hand with the paint in it and splattered paint all over the floor. The splatter is out of the shot, but you can see me go, oh. So we have the floor covered right underneath the drop, but this actually shot off of the RAM board. It was on the actual wood floor. So that was a good time to clean up. But the Chaos Fairy, man, is always coming for you when you've got a big project and you're carrying around paint that's open.
She came back.
Hasn't this already happened before?
It happened to you in your room. So once it was finished, I laid it out on the floor and made sure that the seams lined up right and that it still looked good. This is it on the floor in our living room. And then touched up some things, made sure that the color was matching all the way across and the shadows were matching all the way across. And then it was finished. It's not up in the set yet. So the final shot is me walking by it on the floor, but you get the idea.
Elephant on the floor.
Elephant on the floor. Yeah, now it's really taking over the entire room because now it's the full, it barely fit. We moved furniture out of the way and it barely fit.